She told them she was married to stop the rumors. Her boss said, "Then I'll be your real husband." She thought it was a joke. He wasn't joking. The glass walls of Sterling and Vale Architects reflected the pale winter sunlight, but inside the conference room, the air felt suffocating. Emma Carter adjusted the sleeve of her beige blazer for the fourth time that morning. It wasn't cold. It was nerves. It was her second week at the firm, and she was already regretting accepting the position. "Lunch today." Daniel Harper's voice slid into her ear like unwanted perfume. She didn't look up from her laptop. "I'm busy, Mr. Harper." "Call me Daniel," he insisted, stepping closer to her desk. Too close. Daniel was a senior project manager in his early 40s. Charming smile, polished shoes, wandering hands. "I have plans," Emma replied, keeping her tone neutral. "With who?" His grin sharpened. "You don't seem like the type who goes home to someone." The open office went quiet. Co-workers pretended to type. Emma felt heat rise to her cheeks. She had moved to New York from Ohio with one suitcase and a scholarship degree in architectural design. This job was everything: rent money, student loans, helping her mother with medical bills. She couldn't afford to lose it, so she lied. "I'm married." The word dropped like glass. Daniel blinked. "Married?" "Yes." He looked at her left hand. "Where's the ring?" Her heart slammed. Getting resized, she said quickly, "My husband travels for work. He's protective." Daniel's smile stiffened. "Lucky guy," he muttered before stepping away. The office noise resumed. Emma exhaled slowly. The lie worked, at least for now. 2 weeks later, she had built an entire fictional husband. His name was Ryan. He worked in logistics. He traveled internationally. He hated social media. He existed only in her imagination. She even bought a modest gold ring online, and Daniel stopped bothering her. For the first time since arriving in New York, Emma could focus on what she loved, designing spaces that made people feel alive. That Friday night, she stayed late finalizing blueprints for a luxury redevelopment project in Brooklyn Heights. The office was nearly empty when she heard footsteps behind her. "You're the only one still working." She froze. It wasn't Daniel. It was Alexander Vale, founder's grandson. 33, ruthlessly intelligent. Financial magazines called him the architect of modern power. He was tall, composed, wearing a charcoal coat that probably cost more than her rent. Emma stood immediately. "Mr. Vale." "Alexander," he corrected calmly. He approached her desk and studied her blueprints. "These are yours." "Yes." Silence stretched. Then he nodded. "Impressive." Her stomach flipped. "I reviewed employee files today," he continued casually. "Daniel mentioned you're married." Her pulse spiked. "Yes, that's interesting." He leaned slightly against her desk. "Because when HR updated benefits, there was no marriage record attached to your name." The room spun. He lifted a hand gently. "Relax. I'm not here to fire you." She stared at him. "I know why you said it," he continued. "Daniel has a reputation." Relief washed over her, so suddenly she nearly swayed. "You won't report me? You're talented," he said simply. "I don't lose talent over creative survival." Emma swallowed. "However," he added quietly, "your lie could solve a problem of mine." Her breath caught. "What kind of problem?" Alexander walked to the window overlooking the city lights. "My grandfather's will states I must be legally married before my 34th birthday to retain full controlling shares of the company." He turned back to her. "I have 4 months." Her mind blanked. "You're joking." "I don't joke about inheritance clauses." Silence thickened between them. "I don't want a gold digger," he continued, "and I don't have time to fall in love." Her heart thudded. "So you want—" He met her eyes directly. "A contract marriage." The words echoed. "You need protection from Daniel. Financial stability. Support for your family." His gaze sharpened slightly. "Yes, I looked into you. Your mother's hospital bills. Your student loans." Her chest tightened. "In return, I get a wife. Public appearances. A believable love story. And after," she whispered, "1 year, then a quiet divorce. You keep the compensation." "How much compensation?" $2 million. The air left her lungs. $2 million would erase every debt, every worry, every fear she carried since she was 18. This is insane, she breathed. It's practical. He stepped closer, but not in the way Daniel did. There was no pressure, only intensity. You don't have to answer now, Alexander said softly. But understand this. If you refuse, I'll respect it. He handed her a black business card. Call me by Monday. And then he walked away, leaving her alone with the sound of her own heartbeat. That weekend, Emma didn't sleep. She walked Central Park in the freezing air. She called her mother. Everything okay, sweetheart? Her mom asked. Yeah. Emma lied again. But when she checked her bank balance that night, reality pressed against her chest. Medical bills overdue. Credit cards maxed. Rent increasing next month. On Sunday evening, she stared at Alexander's card for a long time. Then she picked up her phone. Alexander. Yes. A pause. I'll do it. Silence. Are you certain? No, she admitted. But I'm desperate. His voice softened almost imperceptibly. I'll have my lawyer prepare the contract. Wait, she said quickly. I have conditions. I'm listening. My family can never know it's fake. Agreed. And I want everything in writing. Of course. She inhaled shakily. When do we start? His answer sent a chill down her spine. Immediately. 3 days later, Emma sat inside a polished Manhattan law office with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the Hudson River. The contract lay open in front of her. 32 pages. Every detail of her future, typed in black ink. Alexander sat across from her, calm, unreadable. His attorney, Mr. Davenport, adjusted his glasses. As stated, the lawyer said smoothly, Ms. Carter will receive a monthly allowance of $25,000 in addition to her salary. All living expenses will be covered. At the end of 12 months, she will receive a lump sum of $2 million. Emma's throat fell dry. $2 million. Enough to pay her mother's surgery. Enough to wipe out her student loans. Enough to start her own design studio someday. And confidentiality? She asked. Strict, Mr. Davenport replied. If either party exposes the contractual nature of this marriage, financial penalties apply. Alexander's eyes never left her face. This protects both of us, he said quietly. Emma turned the page. Living arrangements. Public expectations. Mandatory appearances at corporate and family events. Shared residence in his Upper East Side townhouse. Separate bedrooms. The words both comforted and unsettled her. Any questions? Alexander asked. Just one. What if your family hates me? His lips curved slightly. They probably will. That didn't help. The wedding would take place in 6 weeks. Public narrative. Whirlwind romance between CEO and brilliant young architect. Private reality. 2 near strangers signing their lives together for business. The engagement announcement broke the internet within hours. Photos of them exiting a high-end restaurant, strategically tipped off to paparazzi. Articles called her the mystery woman. Emma barely recognized herself in the headlines. Moving into Alexander's townhouse felt like stepping into a museum. Clean white marble floors, modern art pieces, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a grand piano in the living room. You play? She asked quietly. Sometimes, he replied. He carried her suitcase upstairs himself, ignoring the housekeeper's offer. Your room, he said, opening a door at the end of a long hallway. It was larger than her entire apartment. Soft gray walls, a balcony, a drafting desk placed near the window. You mentioned once you liked natural light, he said. She blinked. You remember that? I pay attention. That answer lingered longer than it should have. The first week was awkward. They rehearsed their love story at breakfast. How did we meet? She asked one morning over coffee. You spilled coffee on my shirt in the lobby, he replied dryly. I would never. You did in this version. She laughed despite herself. They learned each other's habits. He woke at 5:30 a.m. She stayed up sketching past midnight. He drank black coffee. She drowned hers in cream. At night, the house felt too quiet. Sometimes she heard faint piano music drifting down the hallway. Melancholic. Beautiful. The first real test came at a family dinner. The Vale estate in Connecticut was everything she expected. Massive gates, manicured lawns, legacy dripping from every brick. Alexander's mother, Victoria Vale, assessed Emma with a single glance. Tall, impeccable, Cold. So this is the woman who captured my son's heart, Victoria said smoothly. Emma forced a polite smile. I'm honored to meet you. His father shook her hand firmly. His cousin whispered something behind a champagne glass. Every eye evaluated her dress, her posture, her accent. So, Emma, Victoria said over dinner, how long were you two dating before this engagement? Alexander's hand slid around Emma's waist. Long enough, he answered calmly. Emma felt the warmth of his palm through the silk of her dress. It was supposed to be for show. Why did it feel real? And you still work at the company? His father asked. For now, Emma said carefully. Victoria raised a brow. That could become complicated. Translation, you don't belong here. Emma held her composure. I've worked very hard for my position. Silence stretched. Alexander squeezed her hand under the table. A silent message. I'm here. Later that night, outside on the terrace, Emma exhaled shakily. I failed, she muttered. You didn't. They hate me. They don't know you. He stepped closer. They underestimate you. The moonlight softened his features. Why are you really doing this? She asked suddenly. You gave the practical answer, she continued. But what's the real one? He hesitated. For once, he said quietly, I want something in my life that isn't strategic. Her breath caught. And I'm strategic? You were supposed to be. The implication lingered between them. Before she could respond, voices approached. Instinctively, Alexander cupped her face and kissed her. It was meant for the watching relatives. At least that's how it started. But when his lips met hers, something shifted. It wasn't staged. It wasn't cold. It was warm, firm, electric. Her fingers curled into his jacket before she could stop herself. When they pulled apart, applause echoed from the terrace doors. Finally, someone cheered. Emma's pulse refused to calm. That hadn't felt fake. And judging by the look in Alexander's eyes, it hadn't felt fake to him either. The wedding arrived faster than she could process. Press lined the cathedral steps. Her mother cried happy tears, unaware of the contract hidden in a lawyer's safe. As Emma walked down the aisle, her gaze locked onto Alexander. He looked nervous. Good, she thought. I'm not alone. When he took her hands at the altar, they were warm, steady. The vows were standard. Promises of love, of devotion, of forever. When it was his turn, his voice lowered slightly. I promise to protect you, he said. Something about the way he said it made her chest tighten. When the priest announced, You may kiss the bride, Alexander pulled her closer. The kiss was softer this time, intentional. When they separated, Emma couldn't breathe. Because somewhere between the contract and the ceremony, something real had begun. At the reception, champagne flowed. Music swelled. Cameras flashed. Emma almost relaxed until she saw her. Tall, elegant, confident, blonde hair falling perfectly over one shoulder. She moved like she owned the room. Alexander, the woman said smoothly, approaching them. Congratulations. Emma felt his body stiffen. Claire. The name dropped like ice. Claire extended her hand to Emma. I'm an old friend. The way she said friend suggested otherwise. We dated, Claire added casually. Emma's stomach tightened. For 3 years. Alexander's jaw tightened. That was a long time ago. Claire smiled faintly. I'm glad you found love so quickly. Especially with your birthday approaching. Emma's pulse spiked. Birthday? Inheritance deadline. Claire's eyes flicked toward her. It would be devastating if anyone questioned the authenticity of this marriage. The implication was clear. She knew, or suspected, and she wasn't happy. As Claire walked away, Emma felt the fragile stability of her new life tremble. Alexander leaned closer. Don't listen to her. But Emma couldn't ignore the cold certainty creeping into her chest. Their marriage had begun as a lie, and lies had a way of resurfacing. Emma barely slept the night after the wedding. The townhouse felt different now. Quieter, heavier. She sat at the edge of the bed in her new room, staring at the diamond ring on her finger. It sparkled under the dim bedside lamp. Beautiful, expensive, symbolic. Fake. At least it was supposed to be. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Emma. Alexander's voice. She opened the door. He stood there without his jacket, tie loosened, looking less like a CEO and more like a man carrying too much on his shoulders. Claire won't let this go, he said quietly. You think she'll try something? I know she will. He ran a hand through his hair. She wanted this marriage. My family wanted it too. It would have been convenient. Emma's chest tightened. And I'm not convenient. His gaze snapped to hers. You're the opposite. Silence stretched between them. Did you love her? Emma asked before she could stop herself. Alexander didn't answer immediately. I thought I did, he admitted. But it was easy, expected, strategic. And me. His voice softened. You were never part of the plan. The air felt charged again. Dangerous. Before she could respond, he stepped back. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we deal with whatever comes. They didn't have to wait long. 3 weeks later, Alexander's attorney arrived with a grim expression. She's filed a civil complaint, Mr. Davenport announced. Emma's stomach dropped. On what grounds? She claims the marriage is fraudulent. A calculated arrangement to satisfy your grandfather's will. Emma felt like someone had poured ice water down her spine. She has no proof, Alexander said sharply. She has photographs, the attorney replied. Private investigator images. Separate bedrooms. Documents showing the engagement occurred shortly after you hired Emma. Emma's breath grew shallow. This was her fault. If she hadn't lied about being married in the first place. They're also questioning Emma's financial background. Mr. Davenport continued carefully. Subgesting motive. Gold digger. The word echoed, even though he didn't say it. Alexander's hand found Emma's instantly. Protective. Firm. What does this mean? She asked. If the court believes the marriage is fraudulent, it could be annulled, the attorney said. And you could lose controlling shares of the company. The room spun. After the lawyer left, silence swallowed the house. Emma pulled her hand from Alexander's gently. This is my fault. No, it is. I needed money. I agreed for money. I agreed for power, he countered. We both had motives. But you could lose everything. He stepped closer. Everything. His voice lowered. Emma, I don't care about the shares. You built your life around that company. And I'm building something else now. Her heart pounded. Don't say things you'll regret. I won't. He lifted her chin gently. Somewhere between rehearsed breakfast and that night on the terrace, this stopped being an arrangement for me. Her breath caught. Alexander, I love you. The words were quiet, but they landed like thunder. She stared at him. You can't, she whispered. This wasn't supposed to happen. I know. Tears burned behind her eyes. I love you too, she admitted. And once it was spoken, there was no taking it back. He kissed her then, not for cameras, not for family. Just for them. The courtroom felt colder than any winter morning in Manhattan. Claire sat confidently beside her father, who happened to be one of the firm's longtime legal advisors. Emma kept her back straight. She wouldn't shrink. Claire's attorney presented their case meticulously. The timeline, the rushed engagement, the separate rooms, Emma's financial struggles, motive and opportunity, he concluded smoothly. Emma felt every whisper in the courtroom slice against her skin. Then it was their turn. Mr. Davenport stood calmly. Yes, the marriage began with practical considerations, he admitted. A murmur rippled through the room. But the will does not require a fairy tale. It requires a legal union. He paused, and what began as practical evolved into something undeniably real. He submitted phone records, photographs, testimonies from friends and colleagues, including Daniel Harper. Emma blinked in shock as Daniel took the stand. Under oath, he admitted to harassing her. Admitted she fabricated the husband's story to protect herself. Admitted Alexander had intervened professionally. The courtroom shifted. Then came the final blow, an audio recording. Claire's voice, clear and unmistakable. I don't care if the marriage is real now, she said in the recording. It started fake. That's enough to destroy it. If I can't have him, I'll make sure she doesn't either. Gasps filled the room. Claire's face drained of color. 3 weeks later, the judge dismissed the complaint. The marriage, though unconventional in origin, was legally valid and genuine. That night, Emma stood on the townhouse balcony, city lights glittering below. It's over, she breathed. Alexander stepped behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. Not quite. She turned. Concern flickered in his eyes. The contract, he said. It ends in 9 months. Her stomach tightened. She had almost forgotten. The agreement. The expiration date. I'll have the lawyers dissolve it quietly, he continued. And then, she whispered. He pulled a small velvet box from his coat pocket. Her breath stopped. I'd like to marry you again, he said softly. Without deadlines. Without contracts. Without clauses. He opened the box. Inside was a simpler ring. Elegant. Timeless. This time, he said, voice unsteady, choose me. Not the money. Not the safety. Me. Tears spilled freely now. You're an idiot, she laughed through them. His brows lifted. You think I'd go through all that courtroom drama just for $2 million? A shaky breath. I choose you. He slid the new ring onto her finger. This time, it felt real from the beginning. 1 year later, Emma stood inside her own architecture studio in Brooklyn. Sunlight poured through wide windows onto drafting tables and scale models. Her name was etched in silver letters on the glass door. Carter Design Studio. Alexander leaned against the doorway, holding 2 coffees. You have a meeting in 10 minutes, Mrs. Vale. She smiled. I like the sound of that. He walked inside and kissed her softly. No contracts, he reminded her. No deadlines. Just us. 6 months later, when Emma placed Alexander's hand over her barely visible baby bump, she saw something shift in his eyes. Wonder. Fear. Joy. Our beginning was a lie, she whispered. He kissed her forehead gently. No, he said. It was survival. And this. He smiled. This is love. And for the first time in her life, Emma felt completely safe.